Tonight, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, the radical left, they are plotting what will be the single biggest power grab in modern American history, and they will not be answering questions about any of it. Talk about a lack of honesty and transparency. Now, according to Joe Biden, you, the American people, you do not deserve to know his position, Kamala Harris's position, on what are monumental issues like court packing, keeping the Electoral College, statehood for D.C. and elsewhere until after the election. We have a lot coming up tonight. Also, we'll have the latest details in the curious saga of the presidential debate moderator, Steve Scully. It's fairly remarkable. First, we do start with a simple fact. The level of transparency in the Trump administration is unmatched. This president communicates with you, we, the American people, often. He does it without a filter. He answers a million questions across multiple platforms. He does it each and every day. The president's energy, his enthusiasm, even after a week having COVID-19, is remarkable. We saw this last night right here on the program, and again today during a 2-hour interview with Rush Limbaugh on his show. Take a look at this.
You know, I was not in the greatest of shape. A day later, I was fine, maybe perfect, but I was fine. But a couple of days later, now I'm free. I feel perfect. I'm not taking anything. You know, I'm off any regimen that they gave me. I want to terminate Obamacare and then come up with come up with a great health care plan that's much less expensive and does include people with pre-existing conditions. I don't think the debates mean that much because, and I'll tell you why, I've done well with debates. I've won, I guess I had 15. I think I won every single poll. I won the poll on this one with him. But I had to be rude because he was lying. He'd get up and he'd just say a series of things that were all lies. So I'd say false, and they'd say I interrupted him.
Now, the president's talked at length about health care cooperatives and health savings accounts. But over the past 3.5 years, this president has been open and honest about his agenda. His signature, the signature of his presidency, is that he does what he says he's going to do. He tells you his beliefs. He tells you his plans. He works around the clock. He keeps his promises. For example, I wouldn't say that Bernie Sanders is weak and frail. I say that about Joe Biden. The president fought for better trade deals like he promised. He got it done. Lower taxes, he got that done. Fewer regulations, he got that done. Constitutionalists on the court, he fulfilled that promise. Building the border wall, he got the money. Getting out of foreign conflicts, but still taking out the caliphate, Baghdadi, Soleimani, the al-Qaeda leader in Yemen, he got all of that done also, and building up our nation's defenses. He also got allies to pay their fair share. There's no mystery with Donald Trump. He's straightforward, tells you what he thinks, believes, and what he promises, and then he's followed through for the last 3.5 years. According to Gallup, by the way, more Americans now feel better off under 4 years of President Trump than under Obama and George W. Bush. So let's be clear. Honesty, being truthful, being transparent, it matters. Predictability also matters. The president's pro-growth, low-regulation agenda, it matters. And make no mistake, you're going to get none of that with Joe and Kamala. And as we speak, they are trying to erase their own history. They don't want you to remember that they once fawned over the Green New Deal, and it's still on their website, by the way. They don't want you to remember that all the times that both Joe and Kamala called for a ban on fracking. Oh, we won't stop fracking. That's the exact opposite of what they've been telling us. They don't want you to remember that they once flirted with the idea of defunding the police like it was praised by Kamala Harris in L.A., or, as Joe says, redistribution of funds. Police have become the enemy. They don't want you to remember the times that they helped put violent rioters back on the streets with this idiotic, and it's part of their plan also, no bail policy. And right now, they flat out will not answer a significant constitutional question about court packing. This illicit practice would absolutely fundamentally alter this great democratic republic. It would negate the power of the court and literally our system of checks and balances, co-equal branches of government. This is a really serious constitutional issue. But Joe, he won't give us an answer until, well, after the election. This ought to scare every single person, ought to scare the living hell out of you, to be honest. The arrogance is breathtaking. Whatever happened to honesty, truthfulness, transparency? Now, Chuck Schumer, he's flat out saying that he's threatening everything is on the table. Well, I believe him. That cavalier attitude about destroying the courts is something we've never seen before. By the way, they'd usurp the power of the legislative branch by having activist jurists and justices that they would write the laws. They would determine the law. They would do it by judicial fiat. And the reason they won't give a straight answer is clear, because they know that if they told the American people, you, the American people, the truth, court packing is more than a little concerning, especially for those of us that believe in the Constitution. It is dangerous, it is divisive, and it would lead this country down a very scary path where, well, unelected, lifetime, unaccountable judges would determine anything pretty much they wanted to determine. Now, by the way, Joe and Kamala are totally controlled by their radical socialist base. They know if they tell us the truth, even if they tried to say they wouldn't do it, I wouldn't believe them at this point, because they will be controlled by AOC and the Squad and by the radical party that they are a part of and they are leading. So Biden is planning to pack the courts. And while he's at it, of course, he wants to get statehood for D.C., Puerto Rico. Oh, that's 4 Democratic Senate seats. In the minds of Democratic senators, they'll have a majority in perpetuity. Do they want to ditch the Electoral College also? They certainly will get rid of the legislative filibuster. How do we know? Chuck Schumer's telling us that. His radical base wants total control of the U.S. government, or at least until their socialist utopia is fully achieved. Now, this week in particular, the Democrats and their socialist base, guess what? They didn't think Kamala Harris was liberal enough in her debate with Mike Pence, so they put out their list of demands. It's called the People's Charter, basically just a rebranding of their Green New Deal. Free everything for everybody, socialism for all. You can only assume it's a matter of time before the charter makes its way, well, onto Biden's website. And tonight, if you value honesty, transparency, law, order, separation of powers, co-equal branches of government, our Constitution, if you value capitalism, you should be very nervous. In 25 days, this is all on the ballot. Joe is weak. Joe is frail. He's struggling cognitively. Kamala Harris is the most radical leftist in the United States Senate, more to the left than Bolshevik Bernie. And guess what? That is what's in control of the Democratic Party.